would like to take you all on a journey of how a rundown public park was turned into a glorious food forest. But before that, there's a voice that's calling, will you be set free? There's a change coming, let it start in me, let it start in me, let it start in me. There's a change that's coming, let it start in me. So I grew up in Bangalore, where we used to experience power cuts at night. And so my siblings and I would gather around the piano and we'd start singing songs one after the other. And John Lennon was a favorite. You may say I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. Hope someday you'll join us and the world will be as one. So I knew I could hold a tune, but when I was given the chance on the school stage, in all the excitement, I forgot the lyrics. I did not even make it to the semifinals. So the next time the opportunity came in college, I grabbed it with both hands. And voila, I won the first place. So now that propelled me into the music college, the music scene at college, and I never looked back. But winning competitions, oh my God, I would cringe. You know why? Because each time they called my name, you see, I had the weirdest surname. It was Baby. Yes, B-A-B-Y. So for Keralites, it's a very common surname. But we grew up in Bangalore. And to top it all, my parents thought it would be a novel idea to name their children Lovely Baby, Fancy Baby, Lucky Baby. Me, I was Sweetie Baby. And my poor brother was Happy Baby. You know, perhaps it was a stroke of genius, on my parents' part, because it made the baby girl stand out in school. So the trauma of being teased also built a certain resilience. And then, you come out fully equipped to take on the world. Now, my mother, she was a huge influence in my life. And she was the kind of person who neighbors and friends would call for help and support. And she was a community organizer of sorts, and she would always use her network of connections. So I saw many happy faces leaving our home. And the joy of giving was a huge part in our lives. So she taught by example. And I guess, those lived examples naturally get ingrained into your DNA, So years later, when I got married and came to live in Mumbai, it was so different from my sheltered life in Bangalore. I had to make new friends. I had to, build a new life for myself. So since I loved singing, I joined a beautiful choir called the Stopgaps Choir. And we went traveling to France and Germany and Israel. It was a wonderful choir. And singing with the Stopgaps actually led me to coordinating, various performances at the NCPA. So as time went by, I built a network of connections with other musicians. And one opportunity leads to another. And, I started singing at non-profit fundraisers like the Kripa Foundation, Celebrate Bandra, and slowly built my confidence, And it also gave me name recognition in this field. And soon I was singing in a French opera. I was singing in a Sufi program. And soon I even sang in celebrity weddings, mind you. Soon I was out of my little pond and building my very own brand, you know. And then years went by, and the journey of motherhood, it taught me wonderful life lessons. So around that time, I noticed several of my talented friends who were homemakers, housewives, with plenty of free time on their hands. So I came up with the idea, what if we started a quartet of singing housewives? And this led me to the group that we formed. It was called Grace Notes. And it was a wedding and a memorial quartet. And we became the go-to singing group for weddings and funerals in Bandra, outside. We've even traveled to Jaipur for a celebrity wedding. So my, Grace Notes was taking off. And one day I was sitting with my father-in-law and he says, you should have called your group Patch and Dispatch. And but one of our most memorable signature tunes at memorials was Amazing Grace, how sweet, yes Lord, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I was lost, but now am found. Was blind, but now I see. So 15 years ago, we moved into our lovely neighborhood in Bandra. And there was a rundown BMC park right outside my window. And I found that the BMC had a scheme in which the citizens groups were allowed to adopt a park and use it for the best interest of the local community. And I thought, come on, let's make a difference, Now I needed a partner. And you may have the idea, but to bring it to fruition, you need that one person to believe in your madness, And for me, that was my dear friend, Arlene Fernandez. She was a homemaker like me, but she had the negotiating skills. Man, she could sell ice to an Eskimo, okay? So we went day after day to the BMC office. It was such fun, okay? We would both not know how to get permissions, but we would build on each other's strengths. And we soon learned on the job, like how to use Marathi, where to use Marathi, how to walk in confidently and tell, we've got the backing of the local corporator, so we're all sorted. So back and forth with various forms and signature campaigns and, just to get the attention of the BMC. And finally, with the help of all the neighbors, we got to adopt the park. But through this exercise, we slowly built a bond with the people on the road. It was such a beautiful feeling, And one day, while we were meeting in the park, a certain Mr. Rama Iyer, who was also in the neighborhood but had never heard of us, happened to pass by that way. And he stopped to ask what the meeting was about. And it turned out that his wife, who was an ardent lover of gardens, she had recently passed away. And so Mr. Iyer said that he would help us with the funds. I'm telling you, it was a miracle, and now we had to look around for talent resources within our community. So we got help with the design of the park from an architect who lived down the road, and we got the permissions, to get permissions from the BMC. One of our neighbors who had a little bit of connection with them, he said, I'll help you with the, the permissions. And this experience taught me that when you make the effort to get to know the hidden talents in your neighborhood, and its people, magical things are possible. I swear. So during this time, I happened to take the famous self-awareness course called Landmark Forum. And part of that program, we all had to start some social service initiative, and that led me to my next adventure. You could say my next miracle. I'm a firm believer that serendipity is everywhere, I tell you. Because at that time, I met Premila Martis. She had recently moved into our neighborhood. And so when I told her about our little piece of paradise, she jumped at the idea and explained the importance of simple fallen leaves. It had inspired her to start the Save a Leaf campaign. And the best way is to collect leaves from the neighborhood, bungalows, societies, to start building soil. So we would all go off in my yellow Maruti car with bed sheets and shovels and, to load up the car with dead leaves and bring it back to the park. And we realized that the local malis in all the parks, they were sweeping up the beds and disposing of the leaves. And, it had to remain in the soil and to, allow its creatures to creep back into the soil. And for us, that is black gold leaves. Black gold for us. And as Premila drills in, the message she drills into all of us is just imitate the forest flow, because whatever falls down must remain there. In a forest, no one's going and sweeping it up, you see. So volunteers were finally mobilized, to donate a little time every Sunday, just 2 hours in the evening. And it was so heartwarming to see how people would come all the way, like from Daisar, just to give off their time on Sunday, and it brought about other volunteers who had the same passion. And Dipti Jaktiani, she taught us the importance of seed saving. And, using all the so-called waste material that everyone says, tree cuttings, coconut jowlies, we just line the beds and it'll soon turn into soil, and soon birds and butterflies, they all just started revisiting the park. And for 2 years, I remember, we just concentrated on building the mulch and nourishing the soil. That's all. Just bring leaves, put it into the park, And then soon the PMC heard about us and they said, why don't you do a pilot project? We could see if there are neighborhood parks that could be more than just a park, And thus was born the idea of Dream Grove. So in a span of 3 years, we grew a volunteer base of nearly 200 people. Yeah? Now we've already successfully grown beans, pineapples, bananas, elephant bindi. I mean, have you all seen elephant bindis? Red bindis, gouty purple winged bean. Bitter gourd, I mean, so much more, and it's all heritage seeds. And Premila and Dipti bring and everyone just shares, from what they've got, and it's beautiful. But we've also learned that the other very important thing is to maintain a catalog of, the progress. So pictures, videos, and how to do things so that we can, just put out on social media and someone will just take it up, hoping someone will take it up. Yeah. So if you ever want to look us up, we are on Facebook under Dream Grove Bandra. In fact, a young writer was so inspired by the park when she visited it. She wrote about us in her children's book, and it's called The Miracle of Sundar Bagh Street. How wonderful is that? We're really touched. But I think that one of the most significant cultivations has been the well-being of the people that have formed this Dream Grove family. As Premila often says, when we come to work in nature, we become neutral in every way. no ego, no hierarchy. It's amazing how we've attracted all kinds of people, you know. Some come to discover the pleasure of gardening, some others come for the joy of meeting other people. And we found children with learning disabilities. They are fascinated by the creatures, you know, under the soil, under the mulch. And together, we bring our own learnings to contribute and harvest a sense of self-worth. So that's our story. And so from being a singer to the concert of leaves that create a forest of well-being and self-worth. And so I end with this beautiful song. What the world needs now is love, sweet love. No, not just for some, but for everyone. No, not just for some, but for everyone.